Hi, everybody. It's 6 o'clock. Happy hop ahead day, right? Is everybody getting used to the daylight savings time today? When you come in, make sure you say something so that I know you can hear me and see me, okay? I was almost late. I forgot two things in the back room I had to run back and get right before I came on, so. Oh, there's Mary. Hi, Mary. Say something in the comments that you can hear me okay. I hear dinging on my phone. Hi, Mary. You can hear me all right, can you? Hopefully people are finding me. We'll sit here for a little bit and talk. I always forget something when I do this. Oh, here's Lisa. Hi, Lisa. And Marilyn. Hi, Marilyn. If you can hear me, make sure you say hi and that you can hear me okay. Donna. Hi, Donna. Margaret. Oh my gosh, all kinds of people. Yes, happy daylight savings time. I always have a hard time with daylight savings time because I feel like I never get that hour back. So just a second, I need to scroll my comments up here, sorry. Oh, Denise. Hi, Denise. I always set my clock back like way early on. Okay, so here's Margaret. Hi, I'm here and I can hear you good. Denise says hi, Jan. Oh, hi, Clara. And there's Judy. And Pat Pearson. Hi, Pat. Cool. All kinds of people coming in. So is everybody having a nice weekend? It is kind of weird to have it this light at 6 o'clock. It feels weird. But at least I don't have to go home in the daylight. I can go home in the daylight now. I don't have to go home in the dark. So that's kind of nice. Second here, I got to scroll my. Oh, Judy said hi. Got 9 people here. Were you able to did you get a notification that I was live? Were you able to find, obviously you guys were able to find it. Oh, here comes Marcia Lorio. Hi, Marcia. Are you home yet or are you still where it's warm? And Lori. Hi, Lori. All kinds of people. Has everybody been enjoying the Settee pillow? I've been having fun doing them. After we're done tonight, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna digitize the Easter one. I know what I want to do. I just have to sit down and do it. I have at least 2/3 of it figured out. The other third, I'm a little up in the air yet. Oh, Marcia's home now. Well, welcome home, Marcia. You just look for the post. Okay. Normally, you may have to go to the group and make sure that the notifications are turned on so that you will get a notification. Sometimes they don't automatically turn on. You have to go turn them on. Do you like them, Marcia? Margaret did 2. You did 2 of them? I wondered if maybe you'd like them. I've been having fun. I like I like pillows, and I thought they'd be fun because I like to do stuff in the hoop instead. So I hope you like them. Hi, Marilyn. How are you? Did you figure out how to get your little design, the design shrunk down just a little bit so you could get it in your hoop? It wouldn't have to be very much. Hopefully you're able to get that figured out. Maybe you haven't tried it yet. So I wanted to show you guys what I was working on last night. It wasn't one of my own designs. I was working on the Kimberbell bench buddies. A group of us are making them all. And this is the April ones. I'll have to show you. They're back here. I didn't have room on my table to put them. So here's my little bench buddies. I haven't got the pillows in them yet, but this is the 8-inch bench buddy. And I got the flowers today. It didn't have a little flower, so I had to go get flowers. So that's the 8-inch one. And some of you may be doing these. Oops, second here. I got a glue gun string. And then this is the little teeny one that's like 5.5 by 9.5. Isn't that cute? And you make these little prairie points on it. And I thought this was fun. I'd never made prairie points before. So that was something new. So that's what I was doing. I worked on that the last couple of nights. Got them done. Ready for the pillows. I have to get some, either make some pillow forms or buy some more pillow forms. So. Yep, and my Easter one's coming. I hope to have it done this week. At least digitized. The second, my scrolling is not working, so I can't read your comments. Oh, good, Marilyn, you got yours worked. Here comes Kathy. Hi, Kathy. Marilyn, let's see, Pat's here. Let's see. Sorry, like I said, I have a hard time with the comments scrolling up for me, so. Okay, so we're going to try something new. I have some new equipment tonight, so let's see how this goes. Looks like we got about 11 or 12 people here, so we might just go ahead and kind of get started, and people can join in. The video, of course, will be on the group, so you can go back and watch it. I got a new webcam holder. It's like an arm thing that clamps to my table, so it'll be easier, hopefully, for me to sew without that tripod sitting there. And well, we're going to sew this. We're going to sew the settee pillow together tonight, and I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm also going to try something new. I normally do all of my binding from the front to the back, and then I hand stitch it down. But I thought on these pillows, as many of them as I'm doing, maybe I'll try doing it the other way and with the sewing machine. So I'd watched several videos this week about binding, and I thought, you know, I'm going to try this. So we're going to try it tonight and see how it goes. So I don't know if any of you ever put your binding on the back and then brought it to the front and then sewed it on with the sewing machine. And do any of you do that normally? I normally don't. So I thought we'll try that tonight and see how it goes, because I'd like to be able to get these done a little faster. Those pillows are pretty good size, so when you have to hand bind them, it takes a little bit to get all the way around there. So, okay. So we're going to go ahead, and we're down to where it says sewing the settee pillow together and the instructions there. Some of you, I think, have already you hand stitched them down? Hey, Judy, I've hand stitched every pillow down that I did. You haven't done any of my pillows, just my quilts. Judy and I work together. Judy does not like to put on binding. For those of you who don't know Judy Berry, she doesn't like to put binding on. So I put all the binding on the quilts, and then she hand stitches them down because I don't like to hand stitch. So we're going to try this one with the sewing machine, see how it goes. All day. Yeah, I know. The hand stitching on that. Now, I think I put it in the instructions. Turn binding to the back and finish by hand or machine. I'm going to try doing this the other direction tonight just to see how it goes. And then you may be able to alter my last direction on the bottom and do this with a machine. I watched specifically, if you're not part of this group, you may want to try it. There's a gal named Gudrun Erla, and she's from Iceland, and she has a company called GE Designs, and she does a really, really great video show on Facebook twice a week. She does Tipsy Tuesdays on Tuesday nights on her GE Designs business page. So I would tell you to go join, get notifications from them, because she does great videos, and she's a quilter. So if you like quilting. And then on Friday afternoons at 3, which I normally don't get to watch until, I watch it afterwards on video. But she does one called Facebook Friday, and then she always gives all kinds of fun stuff. Plus, she always has a cocktail recipe on Friday afternoons. So it's really good, and she has really great, beautiful. Can you post the info? Yeah, I will. I'll post it on the comments or in the group. And I really like. She's kind of inspired me to try this because her little videos are great, and I've enjoyed a lot watching them. It's like I don't watch a lot of television. Hi, Jackie. Jackie Shaw got here. Jackie's the overachiever. I think she's made 2, and so is Margaret. Jackie, are both of your pillows done? I think maybe both of hers are done. Okay, so anyway, that was a little plug for Gudrun. If you like to quilt, it's a really nice, fun group to belong to. So the group is called Gudrun's Quilt Crew. So that's her group, and then the other one's just on her Facebook page. So, all right. So we're going to go ahead and sew this together. I'm going to move the camera around here, hopefully. Just a second. So you can see my sewing machine. This little gadget works pretty slick. And I don't have all those legs down there around my feet so I can sew. So I think this is going to work really well. All right, so here is the sewing machine. First we're going to sew together. There you go, it looks pretty good. We're going to sew together the 3 pieces here. So obviously we need to make sure they're in the right order. This one is on the left. This is the centerpiece. So we're going to sew those 2 together first. I'm not a big pinner for these. I usually do these without pinning. However, I am going to stick a couple pins in because I like to make sure that my little borders up here match up okay. So I'm going to put these right sides together. 1/2 inch, I cut these around. If you read the instructions, 1/2 inch around, all the way around. Now, on mine, you'll notice I have a shorter edge up here. I did pre-cut mine down to 1/4 inch just to make it easier for me tonight so I don't have to get up and cut. But I like to put a pin in here, if you can see it, where those 2 borders meet, because you want to make sure your border pieces line up. So I am going to put a pin in those. You can also use those the little clips, the little clover clips, but they sometimes loosen up for me. I like to leave the pin in when I'm doing these. So, all right. And I say a 1/2 inch seam. Oops, second, I got some more comments. You want to learn how to machine stitch binding, so do I. So that's why we're going to try this tonight and see if it works. Just binding left. Oh, you just have the binding left, Jackie. Cool. So far, all of your quilts have been very easy. Yes, they have, Judy. Thank you very much. Okay, so I say to do 1/2 inch seams. However, when I do this kind of thing, you know, on these seams, you notice that there's lines here where there was stitching. And I'm not real accurate on the 1/2 inch seam because I actually don't even look at that. It is approximately a 1/2 inch seam. I'm going to use a straight stitch with the needle in the center. And I am going to use, now this foot works best for me. This is the J foot on the Brother machines, and there's a little notch right in the middle of the foot, and I watch that notch, and I put it on the inside of that stitching line that was on the panels, because then I know that I've got I put it like 1 stitch inside that line, because then I know that on this side, you can see that stitching right there. Then I'm not going to see that stitching when I open this up. Okay, so I sew just about 1 stitch inside that line because I don't want that stitching to show. And that's approximately a 1/2 inch, but it is not, it might be just a hair over 1/2 inch. So we're just going to sew down that line. Now I use this very, very tiny, tiny pin. They're very thin, and I very slowly drive over my pins. It's okay to do that if they're very thin and you do it slowly. So we're driving down I'm driving just inside that line. You probably can't see it very well on the camera, but you can see the line right here. So I'm going about 1 stitch inside of that line. Line up my ends here. I'm going to go down to the end, and I'm going to tie off at the end. I'm just about 1 stitch inside that line. Oops. Got to back up a little bit. I overshot it. Okay, I'm going to tie off, and I'm going to cut. All right, pull my pins out of here just a second. And then I always check, and we'll pull this down here so you can see it. I always like to check along here to make sure that I don't see any stitching, and also that I have my border pieces lined up. So they look pretty good here. I think I did pretty well, even with the camera in front of me here. So that looks pretty good. All right. So now let's move on to the second one here. So we'll do this one. Put the right sides together. Maybe. Going to make sure the borders are lined up. And that's important because it does show pretty much, if it shows a lot if you don't get them lined up. So that's usually the hardest part, is just getting those lined up. Kind of look out here where I can see them. Make sure it's all there. Put the pin in there. I found if I leave the pins in, things don't scooch on me. And if I take them out, so I started using these teeny tiny little pins a long time ago. And it really helps because then I can drive over them slowly. But don't drive over them fast, just drive over them slowly. I bend a lot of pins because I drive over them. So I go through a ton of pins. All right, so I'm going to drop my needle down here, tie it off, and I'm going to sew just about 1 stitch inside that line so that I don't have any line showing on the outside. So I'm sewing about 1 stitch inside there. You also want to make sure you got everything lined up really well, the 2 pieces, so that you don't have any. And I've got my ironing mat sitting next to me here, so I keep hitting things. Don't drive down this too fast because I have to kind of watch where I'm going with that little notch on my foot. All right, we're just about to the end here. Tie it off again. Okay, and we're going to cut. Oh, looks like Denise came in. Hi, Denise. All right. Going to pull those pins out, and let's take a look how we did on this one. Looks like we did pretty well. Everything's lined up nicely, and there's none of those stitching lines showing. So there is the 3 panels are sewn together. And then what I do next is I like to open the seams up. I press the seams open, because if you press them to one side, they're just too bulky. I'm going to stick these pins back in my drawer here. So what I can do now is I'm going to kind of turn this camera a little bit, and I've got my iron here, so you can see the iron. And this is that Eurosteam Evolution iron again. Got a little tail sticking out here from one of my embroideries here. Turn that off. I'm going to turn this upside down, and I'm going to open these seams up. This stuff is quite thick. Hopefully you can see me what I'm doing. These are pretty thick, and so this iron really makes things flat. And it works really well for all the embroidered quilts too, because the seams are quite thick. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and give this some steam. Make it nice and flat. Of course, you can use a standard iron too. This just has more pressure for the steam. And it doesn't get as hot on my fingers. That's the other thing I really like about it. I burn my fingers on a regular iron, and this one doesn't get quite as hot. So it's a little easier when you got your hands down in here. Okay, so we're going to give it a little steam. Open this one up. But that makes it nice and flat. I had a hard time with those prairie points that I did on that little pillow the other night, because I had my other, and all of a sudden I thought, oh, go get your good steam iron out, and then those prairie points just laid right nice and flat. So I had the other iron out, and they just weren't flattening out for me. So, all right, whoops, I got to take my foot on the cord. All right, so those are nice and flat now. See how got them all opened up, and they're nice and flat. Okay. Then I'm trying to read the directions so that we go in order. Prepare both back pieces for an envelope style closure. The envelope style closures are so nice because then you can just slide the pillow in and there's no zippers back there or anything like that. And that is such an easy closure to do. And I've done them two different ways. I've either done them like I'm going to do this one tonight, or I've done them when you fold the fabric literally in half. So you use a lot more fabric that way. So this is a little bit more economical when you're making some of these pillows and if you're doing a bunch of them. So I've kind of pressed these. So what I do is I turn down about 1/4 inch from the edge, and you want to do this on the short side. So we'll read the directions so you understand. So we understand. Prepare both back pieces for the envelope style closure. Turn fabric 1/4 inch to the back on one short side and press it. Then you're going to turn it again 1/4 inch. So it's going to be a total of 1/2 inch, and press again. So what I do is I just pressed it with my iron last night. I did, oops, let me sure you can see it, last night. And then pressed it the second time like this, so that I have a nice crease where I can sew. So let me move the camera back to the sewing machine a little bit better so you can see it. I'm also going to change my thread. I had some kind of cream color. When I do the fronts, I usually try to use a color of thread that kind of matches my center panels, because you don't want to see the stitching by accident in there. So I did use kind of a cream colored cotton thread there so that it wouldn't show. Now this is going to be a darker green, so I've got a nice dark green thread up here, and we'll rethread the machine with that. But I also thought this might work well for the binding. So after watching Gudrun's video, and then I watched a couple of other ones this week too about binding, I thought I'm going to give this a try tonight. So see how it works, because I've been doing a lot of these little pillows, and it takes a long time to go around them. All right, so put the bobbin in. And then we're going to top stitch this. Now I'm not a real super careful top stitcher. I don't top stitch it from the front. I top stitch it from the back so I can see where I'm going. That's why I like my thread to really match. So if I make a little bobble, it looks okay. So we're going to top stitch this. I've got it 1/4 inch turned over twice. And what I do is I kind of still use that center line right in here. And I have that, and then there's kind of a line right here on the foot, on the inside, not the outside, but the inside where the plastic thing goes in. I can see the edge right here on that plastic foot. So that's how I top stitch. I've used these machines for a long time, and I've always top stitched this way. So we're just going to top stitch this. Hold it nice and flat. Hopefully I'm not sewing the other one together too. The sewing's a lot easier without with tripod legs down on the floor. All right, got the first one done. Cut. All right, so we got our top stitching done. It matches pretty well on that fabric, so let's do the second one here. I'll do the same thing. I'm kind of lining up this outside edge on that, right where the kind of plastic goes on the foot. Oops, sorry, I made my machine mad. I hit the button. I've been sewing with the button a lot lately. I've got a foot controller down here tonight. I sew quite a bit with the button on the machine. It depends on what I'm doing. Like with this, it's easier because of the camera here to use my foot controller. But all right, cut this. Okay, so now we got both of those. The short sides. Remember, these are the short sides. Are hemmed. Now, also just be careful. I had a problem last night. If I'll show you this little pillow back. These little Kimberbell pillows were done the same way, and they have that little envelope closure right here. But Jan didn't notice that the well, you know, the little eggs all should probably be going the same direction. And I sewed the top stitching. I'm like, oh, one side, one panel was upside down. So if you have directional fabric, make sure you lay it out so you know which way it's going to go on the pillow before you sew down the top stitching. So I had to rip and do this little one over again. So because this one has all the eggs are going up. So thought probably they should all do that. Just be careful of that directional fabric. This one wasn't directional, so it was okay. All right, so the first time I did one of these, this is the next step that kind of messed me up. So I may have to go over here again to the side of the, to the side where the iron is here. I'm getting something out of my drawer. It says, and when I first wrote these, I thought I wrote them incorrectly, but I think I got it right. It says back pieces right side up over, okay, I'm sorry, number 4 is place the pillow top right side down on a flat surface. So we're going to work from the back. I'm going to lay my pillow top that I've sewn together. Let's go back over here so you can see. We're going to turn the pillow top face down. It says place the pillow top right side down on a flat surface. So I'm going to lay it here. Place the back pieces right side up over the pillow top. And all of a sudden I thought, no, that's not right. But then I realized I have to put binding on it. So that's why we're doing them wrong sides together, because we're going to sew around it and then leave this raw edge and put the binding on it. So the first time I did one of these, I was like, that doesn't look right. So we're going to take the hem pieces. You're going to overlap the hemmed edges at the center. You're going to match the raw edges on the sides, top and bottom, and then I'm going to pin them in place. I usually use my little clips. So hopefully you can see me do this. So I'm going to lay, the wrong sides are together, right side's up. I'm going to match up my raw edges here. Lay it nice and flat. Then I'm going to, whoops, make sure I got the hem in the right place. It's so dark I can hardly see it. Lay this one over here. They should overlap about, when I did these, I wanted it to overlap maybe 4 inches or so. And I think they overlap maybe 4.5 inches, just so it has a good overlap. And I like to start pinning in the center here where those overlaps are, so I know that I've got them secured when I go get ready to do this. So I'm going to secure those overlaps. I can feel it right there first. And down here, I can see it's kind of poking out. I must have this a little bit cockeyed here. It's best if you can get them straight. Sometimes I don't cut straight when I cut, so that could be part of the problem. Okay, Then I always like to pin the corners so I know that they are secure. Maybe if I can get it on there. I got some new Wonder Clips. I was out of them. I have a tendency to give them away to people. So I was out of them. I had like 3 left. So I bought some more the other day. All right. So we got this kind of pinned together. I'm going to stick another one in here, I think, on the end. So remember, this is the wrong sides are together. So here's the right side of the pillow top. The right side of the backing is sticking up right here. All right. It says wrong sides are together. And when I read that the first time, I'm like, did I do that right? What size did you cut the 2 back pieces? Oh, the 2 back pieces, Margaret. It says in the instructions they are, I have to find it, sorry, 12 by 14. So each one is 12 by 14. And it looks like they're overlapping about 4 or 4.5 inches. I like to have a decent overlap, because if they're not overlapping enough, sometimes, you know, the pillow will bulge a little bit, and then then you'll see the pillow in the back if they're too short. So I like to have it pretty decent so you can not see that. Whoops, just dropped my scissors on the floor. I spend a lot of time looking for my scissors. I don't know about you. Spend most of my life looking for my scissors. Okay, so now when we go to sew this, I said flip the pillow right side up and sew around the perimeter with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So again, I'm looking for that sewing line that we sewed around the outside. And I want to make sure, and remember, I had already pre-cut my 1/4 inch. I had the 1/2 inch, there was 1/2 inch around here for the seams, the original seams that we did here. And then I went around and cut the outside ones to a 1/4 inch, but I had pre-cut those before this evening. So I think that was instruction number, flat surface, I have to find it here. Yeah, trim the outside edges down to a 1/4 inch from the stitching line, and that was instruction number 2. So after you sew the 3 panels together, I usually do this at that time with it all in one piece. But I did do that last night just so I wouldn't have to get up and cut, because my cutting table's too far away for the camera. So, all right. So when we go to sew this, we're just going to sew all the way around the outside edge. We don't have to have an opening or anything. The other way you could finish this, if you did not want the binding on it, you could also finish it and put the right sides together, do the same thing, but put the right sides together, just sew around the outside edge, and then you would have your pillow done. But I kind of like the look of that binding on it, because it looks like piping. But piping is kind of hard to put on so that it matches up nice at the end. So I thought, the binding, I know exactly how to do that. So we're not going to have any problems. We're going to do it this way. And then it looks like kind of like piping, it's just wider. Okay, so I'm going to leave my needle actually in the center, because I could move over to like my piecing stitch on my machine, but I actually did this with the needle in the center because I drove along just inside that stitching line again instead, because I wanted to make sure that you couldn't see that stitching line when I go to put my binding on. And that's how I'm going to do this. I kind of eyeball it. Oops, I'm going to drop my needle here. Hopefully I won't hit the iron. If you give me a second, I'm going to move this iron over so I won't wonk it with the pillow here. It's kind of in the way. Okay. So now we're going to sew, and I am just sewing just on the inside of that little line. And if you want to use a piecing foot, or if you want to use your piecing stitch, you can do that too. I find that I do better just by eyeballing it, just because I want to make sure I don't have that stitching line showing. So I'm getting to the corner. I'm going to turn the corner here. Anybody else have any questions? You guys doing okay out there? Now I wanted to let you know I did put a poll up with some other options for sew-alongs. And so please vote. So go look at the pictures of the sew-alongs. Some of you that have been coming to the store and coming to my classes for a long time may have seen some of these things, or maybe have the designs already. But a lot of you have not seen these because I did these a long time. Some of those I did actually a long time ago. Judy and I did a bunch of designs and haven't digitized for a while. So please go vote and see if there's something that you like. The square tuffet is one of the bigger projects, but I want to do that. Move my camera. Oh, okay. Thank you, Kathy. Need to back up a little bit. I must have touched it. Is that better? There we go. Can you see better now? Sometimes you just have to hit me over the head with it. Sorry, girls. And Guy, I bet Orland's here too. Can you see better now? I think we're doing good. I must have hit the camera with my hand. All right, so I'm just sewing just inside that line that I made, and it was 1/4 of an inch. And like I said, you can go ahead and use your 1/4 inch piecing foot here if you want to, but I just wanted to make sure that I got my stitching just on the inside of that line. So I have a tendency to do this just by watching it. All right, turn another corner. Okay. Getting around there. I think we're almost done. Let's go around here. I'm trying to kind of watch the camera and what I'm doing at the same time because I can't always see very well. Yeah, Kathy says Orland's here too, so we have to say guys and gals. Okay, so we're going to go around the end. We got one more corner here to go around. All right, we'll tie this off and cut. All right, so now we have gone all the way around the whole perimeter, 1/4 of an inch. We got our nice little lap back. Oh, and by the way, it doesn't matter which way you put your lap back on. You can have it this side over that side, doesn't matter. Whichever you like better. I think I usually have a tendency to put the left one on just as I'm looking at it because I think it's because I'm left-handed. I don't know. So mine's on the left. All right. So now we're ready for binding. Binding can always be, I'm looking for my little thing to put my clips in here. Binding can be interesting for people. How many people have done binding? Maybe some of you have never done binding before. Now I pre-cut my binding. The binding on this pillow, I like to do 2 1/4 inch binding because the 2 1/2 is just really big, and I usually do 2 1/4 inch binding. Then I can make it tighter, and it seems to be nicer. And you needed 2 strips for this, so I sewed my strips of binding together diagonally like we did the rugs. So many of you saw the rug pattern or the rug sew along. So that's how I sewed the binding together, the 2 pieces. And then I pressed it open, But then with the binding, you're going to press it in half. So it's pressed in half, so it's doubled, okay? And it's straight on both ends. All right? So when I go to do binding, I like to try to find the bottom of my quilt or whatever I'm doing. So this is the bottom over here. And I like to start on the bottom. It doesn't have to be started on the bottom. Now, if you're going to flip your binding to the back and hand stitch it down, we're going to sew the binding on the front of the, and I start at the bottom. But we're going to try this tonight. We're going to try it the other way. So we're going to try it and do it all by machine, and I'm going to turn it to the back. I'm going to sew it on the back. And I like to leave a little tail here, so we're going to turn it this way. Leave a little tail here, about 8 inches long. So I'm going to start kind of over, this is about 8 inches or so. I don't really measure it, I just kind of eyeball it. And now I'm going to go get my 1/4 inch piecing stitch on my machine. That is on the Q tab, for those of you with brother and baby lock machines, and it's Q02. I'm going to take my 1/4 inch piecing stitch, since I can't see anything to sew by anymore, and I'm going to drop my needle and I'm going to tie off. Okay, can everybody see okay? I might go a little closer. Let's see if I can get the camera just a little bit closer. How's that? Sorry, I'm still learning this new equipment. I'm having a little trouble figuring all this out. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to sew 1/4 inch from the edge down to the end. And I'm going to stop 1/4 inch from the end of this side. So I can see where the 1/4 inch is because I have stitches there. And often what I do is I'll stick a little pin in there to help me know where to stop. I have to kind of do that again now just because I don't have my pin feature like I did on my Dream Machine with this one. I always use that on this, but I don't have it on this Luminaire. So I'm going to go down here to where my pin is and stop 1/4 inch from the end, and then I'm going to tie off again. And I'm going to cut. Oh, Suzanne came in. Hi, Suzanne. All right. So now I've got this 1/4 inch opening right here. So when you get to the corner, we're going to fold the binding at a 45-degree angle up and then bring it straight down on the sides so it lines up. So it's nice and flat. So I'll do that again. So we're going to, here's my end, and I stopped 1/4 inch. I'm going to go up at a 45-degree angle so you can see the little triangle there, like that. Then I'm going to go straight down, lining up all the edges. And then I'm going to start sewing off the end. Whoops, except that I just hit the cut button instead of the down button. Let's try that again. All right, so we're going to tie off on the very, very edge. I'm going to line my binding up, and you notice that I don't pin the binding. Never been a pinner when I did binding, so. All right, we're going to go down here to the other edge. I usually sew a lot faster than this, but I have a feeling that camera is just going to be jumping all over the place if I sew any faster. My machine kind of vibrates a little bit when I sew these bindings on. All right, so I put my pin back in here 1/4 inch again so I can see that. All right, we're going to go down to the pin. I'm going to stop. I'm going to tie it off. Cut it off. I think there's a... Oh, Pam came in. Hi, Janet and Pam. I'm going to pull my pin. And now we're going to do the same thing on this corner. We're going to flip it up, 45-degree angle, flip it straight up, Make that nice angle. Make sure it's nice and lined up, and then I'm going to go straight down. I have a piece of paper that I learned to do binding on many years ago. It's called Bind Aid. Now, some of you may have gotten that if you took the Starting Over class. And if you don't have that, I could post it up on the group, because it is a great way to learn to do binding, because there's really good pictures. Because I'd never done binding before, so I had no idea how to do it. All right, so off we go again. 1/4 inch. Kind of stop and line back up again. All right. Getting close to the end here. So I'm going to stick my pin in there before I forget. I'm not used to the pins anymore. I haven't had this machine that long, so. All right, down we go to the pin. Those of you who were at Dream Club this week, we did the pen function, and I showed everybody how I did the pen function on the Dream Machine, and then the Luminaire doesn't have that particular function. So, all right, so now we're going to turn the corner again, take my pin out. Same thing again, we're going to go turn it up 45 degrees. And then straight down. Make a nice corner. Line it up on the end. And you always want to make sure you tie off these ends so you have a good, strong corner. Probably can't see very well with my hand there. Okay. Has anyone else used the continuous binding process? I love it. I don't know what that is, Jackie. Is that from somewhere? Can you explain where that process comes from? Or is it from you mean the Martelli stuff? I guess I've never used it yet. Oh, hi, Connie. All right, I'm going to stick my pin in here again so I know where to stop. It's kind of dark. This thread's kind of dark. I thought about using like red thread or something, but I didn't want to have to pick it out later. So sorry that the thread matches the fabric pretty well. Okay, I'm going to go down here to the pin. There we go. And we're going to tie off again. Yeah, Jackie, can you give us a little more information on that, please? I'd love to hear about it. All right, so we got the last corner. We're going to go around the corner again, 45-degree angle. Make sure it's nice and lined up and nice and straight, and come straight down with the along the edge. Now you want to stop a little ways from, remember this is our end, the other end here. So we want to stop a little ways so we have some room to work in here. So I'm just going to sew in a few inches here on this side and leave a little opening. All right, we're going to tie that off. And cut it off. Okay. So this is my favorite little tool of how to do binding. Now this end here is a nice length, so I'm going to leave this one alone. So that means this is the deal with binding that I think gets everybody mixed up. The binding needs to overlap the same width as the binding. So my binding was 2 1/4 inches. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the end of the piece here. This piece is a good length, so I'm going to cut this one off instead, the longer one. So I just kind of folded this to make it nice and flat. Here's the length of here's the end of my binding. I just have my little hem gauge here set to 2 1/4 inches. and I'm going to lay it right against that flat edge of this top piece right here, and then I'm going to mark that with a pin. Second here, I've got it kind of cockeyed, so let's get it straightened out here. 2 1/4 inches, and I want to mark that on the back piece, which is that longer piece where we're going to cut it off. But they have to overlap the same amount. So if you have 2 1/2 inch binding, you got to have a 2 1/2 inch overlap. Second here, I'm trying to get the comments to scroll up for me. A video says lots of fabric, you measure your quilt, then it's a formula and tells you, oh, okay, I see. If you could find more information about that, Jackie, and tell us where it is, maybe you could post it on the group. That would be great. I'm sure people would be interested in that. All right, so here's my pin. This is the end, 2 1/4 inches to this pin. So I'm just going to pull this up. So here's my end. I'm going to fold this at the pin. I don't know if this is a very scientific way of doing this, but it's always worked for me. Then I'm going to just trim this up. And usually this is where everybody gasps, is like, oh no, how much you did it wrong. But if I measured, and I know it's going to overlap 2 1/4 inches right here. Okay. So this is where the bind aid, all these years I've used this piece of paper. I have it laminated, and I have it, I used to get it out and look at it every single time I did binding, but now I can do this without it. So this side on the left, I'm going to pull down, and you notice that I folded it right here where I ended. I'm going to fold it down just like this. Okay. Then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to open it up flat like this. Okay. If I put it down here, you can see it a little better. So it's opened up flat with the right side up. I need another couple pins. Let me grab a couple more pins out of here. All right, then this is the way you get this to work without it twisting. You have to take this piece and continue the direction you started folding it. So like if it's like this, remember we folded it down, and we're going to continue in the same direction. So I'm going to grab it and keep going this way. All right, so here's the same direction I was folding it in. I'm going to grab it. I'm going to open it up like this, and I'm folded it in the same direction. Okay, this one's laying this way, and then we have to line up the 2 corners like this. So I'm gonna do it one more time. We're gonna keep, this one's gonna be flat and open. This one, I'm continuing in the same direction with the fold. So we started this way, and I'm gonna grab it from the end and fold it out. I'm gonna open it up, and then the corners go together like this. So I'm gonna take the corner, and it shows this on that bind aid sheet really, really well. And then I'm going to put a pin down here. So if you want me to, I'll post that old sheet. I have no idea where that came from. I think my friend Joni Hummer gave me that years ago to show me how to make binding, because I'd never done binding before, and it's been probably at least 10 or 12 years ago. All right, so there's my corner. I'm going to stitch from here to here along this area right here. That's where I'm going to stitch. But before I do that, I want to make sure that I folded it correctly. So what I do is I just let go and leave the pins in it, and then I can tell if it's all going to line up. And it is. It's hard to tell with all the pins in it, but if I let this one go a little bit and let this one go a little bit, you'll be able to see it better. Like that. So then I know it's all going to line up. All right. So that's what I do, is I pin it and then I test it just to make sure that I didn't mess up. Then I take my little pen, you know, my little purple marking pen, and I like to put a mark on where the corners are so I can see them better. Like that. Then I'm going to go to a straight stitch in the center. So I'm going to turn my machine back to a straight stitch in the center, And then I always turn my laser light on. Now I apologize, on this machine you will not be able to see the laser light too well because it's a projection camera and not just a laser light. So I am going to turn it on because that helps me sew straight. And I got to get it turned on here. I'm going to leave it on red. Mine's red, I think. Second here. Yep, it's on red. I can see it, but you probably can't. You can see the white light here, and can you see there's just a little tiny line right here? You can probably see it. So it does show up a little bit on the camera. With the projector with another camera, all you can see kind of often is just sort of like a rainbow effect because of the camera. All right, so I'm going to, I kind of folded this and got it out of my way because I know where I'm going here with my edge of my binding. So I have to kind of get this flattened out, find my mark, drop my needle on that mark, and then I got to get this flattened out again. Yeah, it's not quite flat enough. There we go. And I can see my laser light right here. You probably can't see it, but I can see it. And I'm going to drive to the other corner. Sure, I can see it. Laser light really helps with binding. Okay, then before I cut the fabric, and now you can see can you see the rainbow down here? That's all you'll be able to see is a rainbow. Before I cut the fabric, I always let it go and I just make sure, then look, see, everything lined up nice, like that. But I never cut until I check it. Hi, Deb. Then I'm going to open this up, so my seam's right here. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to trim this off to about 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to finger press this open. That last seam. Like this. I'm going to pull this. And look, it's nice and smooth and it's not twisted. Yay! That's always a very happy thing when I open it up and make sure it's not twisted. So I'm going to go ahead. Now this one I usually do some pins here just to make sure things don't. I have a technical term. I call it pook on me. So I'm going to do this. Line it up. Over here, I think I need one more pin. Grab another one out of my drawer here. It's a lot easier for me to do these videos right here because I have all my stuff like right by my machine. Okay, so then I'm going to go back. I'm going to turn my laser light off and hit close. And then I'm going to go back to my piecing stitch, which is right next door. Then I got to find where I left off. Oh, I just poked myself. That hurt. Second here. All right, so we're going to get this all lined up again. And finish sewing that seam shut. There's a lot of ways to do binding, and I've watched a lot of videos on binding. But when I learned it this way a long time ago, and it's always worked well for me. So, and my binding usually turns out pretty decent. So I posted it from McCall's Quilting. Oh, from McCall's Quilting. Oh, okay, cool. That's great, Jackie. Thank you very much for doing that. All right. Pull these pins out of here. All right, so this is, like I said, this is going to be different. We're going to try doing this. And what Gudrun does, she showed this on her video, you want to make sure that your corners are nice and, hopefully you can see this, corners are nice and flat. So I'm going to pull that corner out, and what she does is she comes up and folds down her binding on the front and makes sure that that corner is beautifully 45-degree angled. I don't know how she said it, but anyway, that's how she did it. She came down here and made sure it was beautiful. on the front. I don't know that it matters which direction you go. Do you have opinion one over the other, Judy, of which direction you go? She's the one that usually does this, so we're trying an experiment tonight. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring this down. Make sure I get a nice corner there. You want to make sure those corners just really line up. And what she did is she took her pin and pinned through those corners to make sure the corners don't move on her. Because that's the important part. We want our corners to look beautiful, especially when it's on the front. Oops, I just missed the corner. Let me try it again. I'm having trouble stabbing with this pin. There, that looks better, like that. And then what she does is she clips then with her Wonder Clips, wherever I laid them, her there. So, but she does all of the corners first. Now, I probably won't video the entire going around, unless you want me to. Maybe somebody else have a question? That's how you do it? Okay. So I go like this. Then you're going to bring that corner. You want to make sure it's nice and flat. And then she put the pin right in that corner to hold that corner still. And hopefully, ooh, I didn't get it stabbed very well again. My pin is bent again. I need to get some different pins. There we go. That one's pretty good. Go around to the other side. But she says she always does all of hers this way. Now, the one thing she did do that I found interesting, and maybe we should try that, she did do a little press on the back. So I'm going to press this real quick. It might help with the corners. Let me press this. I've got my iron over here yet. Put this out here. She kind of pressed it. Pressed her binding open. Do you ever do that, Judy? Press your binding open first? And she said it was easier then to get it, get the corners done. So she pressed it open. Hopefully you can see me. I normally don't press mine open, but I think maybe when you're doing this from the rear or from the back, maybe it would be easier. Let's try that. There we go. That might be a little easier to get the corners nice, so let's try it again. Let's do another corner here. We've got to find my pin. Bring the corner down, and you want to make sure you cover up that other stitching. You know, we have some other stitching on there, so we want to make sure that's all covered up and is beautiful on the front. Oop, I missed again. I'm not very good with these pins. I'm used to using the little clips, but I can see why she uses the pins, because she said that it was better to use the pins in the corners because then you could drive right up to the pin. And with the clips, you're going to have to take it out a little ways. So, all right. And Judy, you said you never iron them open. Yeah, I suppose it's just because she's doing it with the machine, and that's how she recommends is ironing down. So, we'll try it the way she suggested. See if this works. All right. All right. So I'm going to grab it. Give me a second here. I got to reach over for my little bucket of clips here. We're going to put a couple of little clips in here, just to kind of hold it down for us. Keep them in place. Yeah, I've never ironed it before either, so I've always just pulled it around, but put at least a few pins in here, or little clips, so that this won't be all. And then the way she did this, I found it very interesting. Like I said, this is a trial for me too. I figured we'll just do it online together, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, we can always do it the other direction. But I thought it was interesting because these have been taking me quite a while to sew around, and I wanted to be able to do them a little faster. So I've been making a lot of samples lately, it seems like. All right. Got them clipped. Let me get my little box clips out of the way. And then what she did was she used a zigzag. So I'm going to bring this down around to the machine again. And she used a zigzag. She said you can use a decorative stitch, you can use a zigzag, you can use a straight stitch, whatever works for you. But I thought, well, I'm going to try a little narrow. She used a little narrow zigzag. So that's what we're going to try. We're going to try the little narrow zigzag. And what I thought I'd do is I'd run the edge of that same little notch there. I'm running it right along the edge of my binding. Okay, I'm going to drop my needle for a second to hold it in place, and I got to go find my zigzag. Maybe, let's see, let's try this one. And I think I want it to be probably fairly narrow. So let's do, she used a really tiny narrow one, but I'm not quite that good. I think she used about a 2 millimeter. We may do about 2.5. My stitching ability isn't as good as hers. And then she used a fairly short length so that it was fairly close together. I'm going to try about a 1, and let's see what this looks like. We don't want it to be too dense. Maybe 1.4. That's kind of the default, and I made it pretty narrow. So I've got the little notch right on the edge of my binding here. Raise my needle up again. All right, so let's try this. We're going to lock. I use the zigzag with the polka dot on it, and I use the locking stitch so that I can lock in. And then I'm going to start driving along there. I know a lot of people that do this with like an E-stitch or a blanket stitch, and that looks really neat. Oops, got some more comments. Just a second here. Let me scroll down. I recognize that clip box. I got the same one from Amazon. Yeah, Denise, I actually don't buy much from Amazon, but I found that little box of clips and I really wanted it. She only puts on 4 clips, sews up to 3 clips, and then pulls 3 more again. Yeah. Yeah, I use a blanket, Lisa, okay. And mirror image it. Okay, yeah. Yep, super small. But I thought maybe the zigzag would be okay on this since it's not really it's not a quilt. So I'm just driving along that edge of my binding. I don't know, it looks pretty nice. So let's keep going, see what happens. I was telling Judy maybe this would be a good way for us to do some of the charity quilts, because we do a lot of charity quilts and it takes a long time to sew around them for some of the gals, but some of them like to do the hand stitching, I think. All right, so we're getting close to this first corner. Let's see how we do with this corner here. So yeah, so I've got my machine set at 2.5 and 1.4 for the length. The width is 2.5. I'm just barely catching those edges, so and I want my needle to be on the right when I go to turn around the corner here. Oh no, it looks pretty good. Test how well Jan can sew straight, but you know, let's give it a whirl here. So I'm just going right along the edge of that binding. Got the binding pulled over nice. But I knew that people were did this, and what she recommended was to do things with the machine that are going to get tugged on or used a lot or like washed a lot, like placemats and stuff like that, just because they do get used quite a bit. So just like we got some more comments, I'm trying to get down there. Oh, the serpentine. Yes, the serpentine is great because it doesn't show if you're crooked. That's the one thing I like about the serpentine stitch, because if you're crooked, you can't tell. I also thought that we could do this with, like, what do I want to say? It would work real well to do this with the monofilament. Can't talk tonight. The monofilament thread. That would work because then it would show even less probably. But yeah, I've never put binding on like this before. right, getting close to this next one here, so let's see how I can do on this one. I'm going to drive right up to the pin. Again, I want my needle to be on the right when I turn the corner here. So what do you think? Can you see the zigzags? I'm going to hold it closer and see. Can you kind of see the little zigzags? They don't look bad though. I mean, the thread just kind of matches right in. I think you could even do like a decorative. Oops. I think you could even do like a decorative stitch. That would look really nice. But I think that real tiny zigzag doesn't look bad. And yeah, it's going to be, you know, you're going to see it a little bit, but for something like this, I don't know that that would really matter. Trying to keep it nice and straight. Sure is a lot faster than driving around or hand stitching it down, though. I'll tell you that. I've been enjoying making these pillows, but man, when I get to this point, I'm like, wow, now I have to sew all the way around there, and it takes me like a couple hours to do it. All right, so let's see what it looks like on the back. Well, that looks pretty good. I mean, like the zigzag, I don't know if you can see it because it's so dark. The zigzag's just like just inside the binding, and it looks fine. You know, it's pretty straight and everything, so I don't know. Let's keep going. You guys getting tired of watching me sew? Yeah, the serpentine. I didn't think about that, but the serpentine would work really well too. I love that serpentine stitch. I use it for like all of the in the hoop projects when I put the in the hoop quilts together. Cool. This is working okay. I don't know. I may try this a little bit with some of these little pillows and stuff, just because I think it would be easier to get them done faster. All right, got my needle on the right again. I'm going to turn the light. We're going to get just about done here. Turn the corner again. Now, you notice I left the pin in. I can see you do want to make sure you're keeping this binding nice and tight and straight. But man, this is going together a lot faster. Boy, that I should have picked a lighter. I wish I could have seen the fabric's very dark. It's getting kind of dark in here now. I had more sun when I started because the sun's going down now. Okay. Of course, we want to make sure we're kind of keeping straight. Jan's not doing the greatest here. We'll try this corner better a little bit. It's actually, you know, I almost think it might be easier to do the corners as you're getting to them, because I've had to adjust all of them so far so that they come together better. We're getting just about done. We're on the last corner. This one's being contrary. It's not wanting to line up for me. All right, let's go a little closer. Maybe it'll line up better for me. I'm just kind of staying right along the edge of the edge there, right along the edge of the folded edge. Yeah, this one just doesn't want to line up for me. Do you ever have those, Judy, that you just can't get them to line up? Nice. This one just is not being lining up for me. And it's probably my fault because I'm the one that put it on, right? This one just doesn't want to line up. If I can get the pin in there, see if I can get it. This one's not as good, so I may have to rip this one out and do it again. All right, just about to the corner. There we go. I'm going to drop my needle on the right when I'm turning. And pull that nice and snug. I don't think I did a very good job in that corner. We may have to fix that one. All right. I promise I'm almost done. I've got about 6 or 8 inches over here. One last clip. I don't know, it looks pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and tie off here. And cut. This one corner I'm going to have to do over again, but I think you kind of get the idea. What do you think of that little method, everybody? I definitely need to do this one. I didn't get this one caught. It just didn't, this one down here just didn't catch for me, but the rest of them look really good. Yeah, well, kind of a neat method. And then what on the back, you can see the little zigzags along the back, but it's just inside, you know, just inside there. It doesn't look terrible. This is really matchy thread, so you can see the zigzag, but it looks fine. So I don't know. What do you think? We can always do them the other way around. I've got some more comments. I think I will be trying this method. Yeah, I mean, like for stuff like this, don't you think this would work fine? And if I would guess, I would probably recommend to make your back thread, make your thread kind of match your backing so that, you know, you're not going to notice it. I mean, it looks fine, and I think I'm okay with it. I'm going to do this one corner again, but other than that, I'm pretty happy with it. What do you think, everybody? So there is your pillow cover with the binding on, and we did that all in an hour and 15 minutes. Wasn't that great? Actually, it only took us about an hour because we talked for a little bit. But here's your, whoops, let me get this down here so you can see it. Then we're going to slide your pillow form in there. I brought the pillow out. This is what it looks like when it's all done. I'm going to bring the camera up so you can see it. So here's the pillow. Whoop, with a little fuzz on it. With it all done. Bring the camera up so you can see. And this is the backing with the pillow with the little lap closure. And then the pillows that I use, I know some of you text me and ask me about the pillows. I get the pillows most of the time at Hobby Lobby. And I found a place online that I've been buying them too, but they're 12 by 22, and they're these soft stuff ones from Hobby Lobby, and nobody else that I know of has this size. So I had a hard time finding them. The only place I could find them was at Hobby Lobby. So a second here, I'm having problems scrolling again. Well, I mean, it made it easy especially for a small project like this, don't you think? That's what Margaret said. It looks pretty good, makes it easier and faster. I definitely think so. I think you could play around with what you use for your stitch, and the zigzag looks fine. I mean, you could do several different stitches. I think I am going to go back and maybe work on my one corner, though. So, but anyway, that is the pillow form. So I got these at Hobby Lobby, so if some of you couldn't find them, this is the one from Hobby Lobby. This is the pillow cover all ready to go for the next pillow. Hopefully you can see. Oops, put this down so you can see it. And we did the whole thing in an hour and 15 minutes, or an hour really. And the binding's all done, because I know the last ones that I did were all done by hand, and it took me like 2 hours to drive all the way around this. So I don't know. I think the zigzag stitch looks fine for this type of thing. I may not do that for a quilt, you know, for a nice quilt, but if it's for a quilt that you're going to use a lot, I think it would be great to use it for a quilt that you use a lot. Okay, so we'll have a few more. Looks good, thank you. Looks good. We will do both of our pillows that way. Yeah, I think it does go around a lot faster. So, okay, so we're done with the little sew along. I put up the poll, so make sure you vote about what you would like to try next. There were several things up there. I had some things that I wanted to work on, and so those were some of the things that I chose. Some of those designs are Judy's and my designs, and some of them are, you know, like the other one was the rug. The corners are a pain in the neck. Yes, they are, Margaret. I agree. So I still am not happy with the corner, but the one corner, the other ones look pretty good, but I didn't catch that one corner very well. So we'll go back and just fix that one corner a little bit. And I think it'll look much better then. All right. But I also wanted to let you know that I'm going to upload to the group in the files section. I have another little gift for you for St. Patty's Day. I have this little bowl, this little lace bowl. Some of you who have been coming to the store for a long time may have seen this, but a lot of you probably have never seen this little bowl. I used to do a design of the month years ago, and I haven't done one for a long time. And this little bowl was one of those designs of the month, and it is lace, so you sew it on the water-soluble stabilizer. And I'm going to upload this to the group, and this will be my little St. Patrick's Day gift for you. You sew out, was it 6 panels? 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 5 panels, and then there's a bottom. So I'm going to put this up in the group so you can have this little design. And yeah, they're really cute. I did a bunch of bowls. I used to do lots of lace, and I just haven't done any lace for a long time. So I did these in PE Design. PE Design is much easier to do the lace in than Floriani is, or PEP. So, oops, second, I'm trying to get my scrolling to go up again. You still have yours, Jackie? Yeah, I mean, some of the, like Jackie and Margaret and Marilyn, they may have seen this. And there's several other of you, like Deb Parkinson, you probably have seen this one. But there's a bunch of people that have not been coming to the store that long that I've been doing these for, I haven't done them for quite a while. So I thought I'd give everybody a little design to sew out on your with your water-soluble stabilizer. So that's my little gift to everybody. All right. So again, please vote at the poll so that you know what you would like to do for this next sew along. Maybe I'll put the camera back up so you can see me, and I'll say goodbye to everybody. So, whoops, see if I can get it to line up again. So does the camera work okay? I kind of like this new clamping thing. It works pretty well. And I don't have as much under my feet then. So, all right. So if you have any questions, make sure that you email me or call me or whatever. You can email me or message me through Facebook. It's probably the fastest. And I will put this little bowl up shortly after we get off here. I have to just finish up some stuff, and then I'll put it up there for you to download. And, oops, second here, there was a couple more comments I can't read. The camera worked great. I think the camera is okay. This is just a webcam, guys. I mean, it's not an expensive one. It's like a $50 webcam, and seems to be working good. So and the videos seem to be clear. So anyway, good night, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed the sew along. I'll come on next Sunday. We may be doing something with the scan and cuts next Sunday, but I have to figure out some technology before I can do that. I'll let you know during the week what we're going to do. But I would like to do something with the scan and cut. I wanted to show you some things, but I have to do a little playing around with some stuff to see if I can get it to work. So anyway, well, next Sunday, the same time, at 6 o'clock, and then I will let you know in the next day or so what we'll be doing then. And if you have, again, remember to go vote and see what other kind of things you would like to do. So thanks, everybody. Good night. Bye.